Quiz time. Quick one, huh? What do you call a guy who was born in Kuwait, raised in Texas, and legally belongs to neither of those places? US Homeland Security calls him pending. His mom calls him for dinner. And Netflix call him a Peabody winner. His name is Mo Amer. And for 20 years of his life, 2 full decades, the US government could not decide whether he was allowed to exist in the US permanently. No passport, no home country to fall back on, just paperwork purgatory. And a killer sense of humor about it. He took that mess and turned it into the series Mo. 100% on Rotten Tomatoes and a Peabody Award, a Gotham Award, and a fan letter from Steven Spielberg. Not bad for a guy who spent 2 decades legally speaking being nobody's problems and everybody's paperwork. Hi everyone, I'm Paula, and this is a space where I talk about movies, series, books, or honestly, anything that I think it's worth sharing. So let's get into today's video. Who directed, the real story behind it, why this family landed in Texas in the US of all places, why this show hit so hard in 2026 rather than when it came out in 2022, and why Mo Amer is who he is. Because trust me, the man is funnier than the character. So let's talk about who's behind the camera. 2 names build this show. Mo Amer stars, writes, and executive produces. Ramy Youssef, yes, Hulu's Ramy, co-created and executive produced it right along him. 2 of the very few Arabs US creator performers running their own show in US television. They didn't just get a sit at the table, they literally built the table themselves. Directing duties went to Sullivan Slick Naeem, a guy who cuts his teeth in Power, Snowfall, and 61st Street. Naeem gives the show a grounded, almost documentary feel to it. There's no glossy sitcom lighting, no laugh tracks at the end of each joke or punchline. It's just life, filmed like it matters. Then in season 2, Amer did something ballsy. He directed part of it himself. For the first time in his career, he has called that final season bittersweet. Which tracks honestly, because directing your own trauma is a very different job than just performing it, let's be honest. Try explaining that to your own therapist. A24 produces. Yes, that A24. The studio behind Everything Everywhere All at Once, Zone of Interest, Past Life, Moonlighting, Room, and so many others. That's exactly why Mo feels less like a network comedy and more like an indie film that just happens to have jokes in it. Now, the real story. Who is Mo Amer actually? Here's where the show stops being just fiction. Fair warning, this show is not easy to digest. It does not look like a sitcom funny to catch. Mo Amer was born in Kuwait City in 1981. He is the youngest of 6. His parents were Palestinian refugees whose roots trace back to Haifa, land they lost generations earlier. So before Mo ever set foot in the US, his family had already been displaced once. Kuwait was supposed to be the safe chapter. Spoiler, it was not. In 1990, the Gulf War broke out. Mo's international classmates could go home to their original home countries, but, well, Mo's family just couldn't. There was no home country left to go to. So, at 9 years old, Mo, his mother, and 2 siblings fled Kuwait and sought asylum in the United States of America. They landed in Houston, Texas, which Amer describes only half joking as trading one oil juggernaut for another. Then his father died when Mo was a teenager. The family fresh start reset again into something raw, grief, tight money, and a household holding itself together on humor and pure stubbornness. And here's the number that should stop you cold. 20 years. 20 freaking years. That's how long Mo Amer waited to become a naturalized US citizen and finally getting a passport. 20 years of living in the only country he remembers, with zero guarantee that he could leave that country and come back. That is not a plot device. That's a regular Tuesday for him. And that was his actual life. But why did they go to the US in the first place? Well, worth pausing on a bit here now because it's the engine of the whole show. The Najjars and the real Amer family did not pick the US off a dream board. They ended up there because every other door had already been slammed on their faces. Kuwait expelled them, Palestine wasn't reachable, and the US offered asylum. But remember, asylum is not the same thing as belonging. It's a waiting room, not a home. That gap, that limbo, limbo, asylum without belonging, is the whole tension of the series Mo. So this isn't a turnaround tale like the rags to the riches immigration story. It is US purgatory. Allowed to stay, not allowed to fully live. Mo cannot get a normal job without a valid work permit. He cannot leave the country to visit his family without risking never getting back into the US. His mom reads bad news from his homeland that she can't really visit. It's less American dream and more what happens when the system never says yes and never says no. So now, this is a bit of an old show, and I want to tell you why does it matter to watch it right now. Let's be real about why this show doesn't age like a normal sitcom and why I would incentivize you to watch it now. So season 1 dropped in 2022. Funny, specific, warmly received by the public. Season 2 was written under a much heavier skies. Greenlit in early 2023. Delayed by the Hollywood writers' strike, and finally released in January 2025 into a completely different world than the one that was greenlit on it originally. You know what I'm talking about, right? The whole tension in the Middle East to play it down. So the creators made the deliberate call to end the season timeline before October 7th of 2023. They did not want to dodge that moment, but to protect the show's voice instead of turning the finale into a news segment. And you also don't need me to tell you that immigration asylums aren't theoretical anymore. Detention centers, asylum backlogs, the sheer coin flip randomness of who gets to stay and who doesn't. Well, Mo dramatizes all of it through one specific, funny, exhausting family right as those exact systems are back under a global microscope. Watching a show about 20 years of legal limbo while real families are living that same exact limbo right now, it is not just timely, it is borderline uncomfortable in the best way. One more thing worth saying plainly, Mo Amer is the first Palestinian creator star to headline a US television series. Ever. Not a footnote, a door that had never been opened before. Now the plot. What actually happens in Mo, this series? So Mo Najjar, essentially Amer, playing a fictionalized version of himself, lives in Houston with his mother Yusara, his sister Nadia, and his brother Samir, who is on the autism spectrum. The family's asylum case has been pending for roughly 20 years when we meet them, which means that Mo lives in permanent side hustle mode. He sells products out of his trunk, basically Adidas, Yeezys, watches, you name it. He dates an American Mexican Catholic girlfriend who his mother does not approve of, and holds together a family that it's equally in hilarious and running on fumes at the same time. Season 1 is about survival in Houston. Work, faith, community, love, and daily absurdity of building a life on a legal status that could evaporate at any moment. Season 2, on the other hand, turns the pressure a little bit up. Mo gets stranded out of the US. To survive, he runs a falafel taco cart and moonlights as a luchador in Mexico. He is racing to get back before his family asylum hearing happens. The story's world opens up too. We see extended family, Palestine itself as an actual location, and new faces including Simon Rex, Lisa Koshy, Matt Rife, and Ana de la Guerrera. The season goes to genuine dark places, to be honest. Detention, generational trauma, disability inside of an Arab family, all that without losing the jokes and its warmth. The writers, Amer and Youssef, ended here on purpose. 2 seasons and 16 episodes, all because they felt the story was complete, rounded. That's kind of a miracle. Now, the actors. Amer as Mo isn't just acting so much as narrating his own nervous system out loud. The charm, the self-deprecation, the flashes of real anger underneath the punchlines. It earned him an Independent Spirit Award nomination, and it works because, none of it is actually performed. It is basically performed in a proximity. The ensemble gives sazon to the whole story. Farabiesos as Yusara gives the show its gravity, and I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing it right. Grief and resilience delivered in the same breath, often the same sentence. Omar Elba as Samir became one of my personal favorites in the series because the show never really treats his autism as a plot device. He's a full person with its own arc, especially once season 2 lets him define himself outside of his old job. Teresa Ruiz and Sharon Dabis round out a family that feels less like a sitcom archetype and more like people who you recognize from your own family reunion, whatever culture that reunion happens to be part of. Now, let's dig into a little bit of location, photography, and costumes, a little bit of nerdiness. So our show setting is Houston. Local Texas press called it one of the best small screen depiction of the city in actual texture because it's Latino and Arab communities living side by side. The sprawl, the heat, the strip malls, and the taco trucks instead of the usual postcard immigrant story backdrop. The photography leans into the heat rather than smoothing it over. Handled intimacy for family scenes, wider and more composed frames once the story crosses into Mexico and later on into Palestine. Costume design does quiet, deliberate storytelling too. The show moves between 3 cultural grounds: Texan, Palestine, and Mexican, sometimes within a single scene. And the wardrobe tracks the code switching, which is fascinating. Cultural and religious dresses at home. Streetwear when Mo is out hustling sneakers. Then a palette that drains almost to nothing once the story enters the tension in border spaces. It's all built to make you physically feel the same Mo is going through at his life. So let's talk a little bit more about Mo, the creator. Mo Amer's legacy before Mo the show, there was Mo Amer the stand-up, a genuine 2 decades grind. He started performing as a teenager in Houston, so got the real break around 2015, opening for Dave Chappelle, a big deal. Released 3 Netflix specials on his own: The Vagabond in 2018, Mohammed in Texas in 2021, and The Wild World in 2025. 40 plus countries, Royal Albert Hall, Radio City, a Peabody, a Gotham Award, AFI honors, a Television Academy honor, and more recently, GQ Middle Eastern Man of the Year. His comedy runs on consistent frequency. He takes something genuinely heavy like stateless Islamophobia, post 9/11 profiling, grief, and find the absurd human joke hiding inside without ever letting the joke let the pain off the hook, which is fascinating. That's the same engine that powers Mo the series. He's building range outside of comedy too. A role in Hulu's Ramy and a supporting turn in DC's Black Adam opposite of Dwayne Johnson. And what he's building now seems bigger, not smaller. He's currently touring El Oso Palestino, the Palestinian bear, across the US, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, using the stage to keep talking about Gaza and Palestinian identity. Even as that conversation got a little bit riskier for public figures to have nowadays. In his own world, keep performing, but also keep being great at what you do. Not a trade-off. 2 jobs, 1 guy. So what can we expect from him next? Amer says that he's developing both a movie and a new show right now. He's also hinted, half-jokingly, at maybe someday taking an actual break. That's kind of funny because this is a guy who calls himself notorious for not taking any time to relax. His new material from the current tour will very likely become his 4th special, following the same pattern as the last 3 ones. And while Mo the series ended on purpose at 2 seasons, Amer felt that the story was told, that it was done. Both he and Youssef have said that it is not, though, the last of this world. Youssef's words are here, and I quote, "There are so many stories pouring out, whatever shape they eventually take, they will take. So no, Mo probably isn't coming back as a show." And that is refreshing in a world where, honestly, most of the streamings of the world's want season 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. But well, Mo Amer, he is not going anywhere. So that's Mo for you guys. 20 years of legal limbo turned into something funny enough to win a Peabody. And honestly, enough to get a fan letter from Steven Spielberg. That is a big deal. Both seasons are streaming on Netflix right now for you guys to watch. There is genuinely no better time, I guarantee. If you want more of this, the real story hiding beneath the shows that actually matter, or just a connection, hit subscribe. Let's have a chat. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.